Prime creation sent out of itself to be, learn, and do. The music of the spheres is 5 geometric shapes that resonate a sound, the word of prime creation. Each resonates a frequency that makes up the full range of frequencies in harmonic ratios, fractals of sounds, light and color of the natural matrix on the tree of life. These frequencies are the very way in which our sensory perception receive and thus interact with reality. Fire is associated with the tetrahedron, and the element of fire, the catalyst of action, provides the focal point and template around which the spheres gather. Air, with the octahedron and the element of perception, thoughts, contributes the mental awareness, thoughts we have to perceive and interpret the spheres. Water, with the icosahedral grid, which is our emotions, offers the fluid, life force, and movement to enliven the spheres, as well as the sensitivity and emotion that enables us to experience them. Earth, with the cube, the square inside the circle. Earth embodies all the previous phases, giving us each the world as we know it. Spheres have centers and peripheries, and they can expand and contract, overlap, and turn inside out. Think of our planet's body and our own spheres of influence, our aura's influence on others. Expand your truth bubble. Spread the truth, light workers, light warriors, citizens of the new earth. The dodecahedron is associated with the all-permeating medium, sometimes called the aether, the ethers. These forms nest inside of spheres in specific relationships. The octahedron is inside a double tetrahedron, which in turn is inside a cube. Picture the matrix of space as a combination of these three. The icosahedron and dodecahedron are more fluid and all permeating. They go beyond our spatial 3 dimensions and relate more to movement and energy. The music refers to the vibratory nature of all 5 platonic forms residing in the nested spheres. They unfold in harmonic ratios, some of which we can experience as sounds with the human ear. However, to hear the music of the spheres is actually an inner hearing that we can experience when we open in spiritual growth. Thus, the reason for the shape of the mind control technology being in a hexagon is revealed. This structure on Saturn and the moon was in the hexagon shape to both bind us to a lower octave of vibration, but to bind us in totality within it. It was the interface both technologically and physically in our solar system of our bodies to the artificial intelligence matrix. The mimicking, copying, and reduction at the same time of the natural life grid matrices was to place an overlay directly over top the natural ones, yet offset to the natural life grids, thereby blocking our spiritual soul growth on the flower of life, tree of life. Saturn and the moon purpose was to shunt our movement and manifestation energy of our thought forms into their dark abyss of tree of death, doth, where it would feed the ones who chose not to do their own soul growth themselves, but take our energy to piggyback on our energy and keep us locked into the time loops and lose harvest. To remind people, there is an original good use of dark, the dark side. It was to stimulate growth, and species that had grown complacent, leveled off in development on lush, fruitful worlds such as Earth is even. It is seen in our most ancient nature-based worlds myths as tricksters, things that tricked us to test us on our path. Like initials of positive intent, these tricksters kept us on our toes, learning and growing ever more into who and what we are and can do as source origin beings, learning how to be creators. In all those myths, especially the native indigenous ones, the trickster character often became evil after the introduction of Christianity or Draco concepts. What was a test, a natural initiation via a dark lesson, became insurmountable, a demon to fear. Thus we starved the inner wolf, which made it worse, instead of befriending what is us in reality and expanding what we are. Know that these wolves of our own shadow aspects will bare their teeth. Fear them not as you go up and down your chakras, clearing the emotional aspects where you are imbalanced. Forgive starving them, neglecting yourself and what was distorted in the inverted mirror magic spells, illusions that we too were convinced were real, yet seen as they actually are. Then the web of lives these impersonators wove about us that we have lived under for so long will become clear as glass. We were connected to the sound of the music of the spheres within each of us. We have all heard the phrase, concept that our thoughts create our reality. Well, they do. Our thoughts create our reality. Where our attention goes, their energy flows. It's just that in this artificial intelligence matrix, our thoughts are reflected back at us, our thought forms, the tools of our manifestation abilities go nowhere. Not out into the universe to be made real as our higher selves never receive them past the dark mirror magic of this artificial intelligence matrix. The five-pointed star shape and octave of the platonic solids represents our very bodies if upright in the natural state. Inverted, upside down, and you have the satanic symbol. We are the hanged man in the satanic inversion, in the artificial intelligence underworld, so to speak. This is the bind of the fear, sin-based religions to bind us, religare, word root meaning of religion, being to bind our being, our souls from the flower on the natural tree of life, instead to the tree of death, the inverted tree of life. The Kabbalist, obvious word root of Kabbalah, tell us in plain sight that the Saturn planetary being and its planet was involved in our sabotage with its hexagon mind control technology with the various placements of Saturn on their Kabbalistic tree of life. The Kabbalistic tree of death or chaos is all names for this inverted tree of the dark magician. The Kabbalistic tree even contains structures named one of the names of the Saturn planetary being, typhonic wormholes or portals. These typhonic wormholes were the very real and carried out our loose energy to wherever the allies of the Saturn wanted. There is various depictions of this tree of death, as I will now call it for simplicity's sake. At each point of these trees are placed called Sephiroth, where the planets are located and associated to our bodies, energy center at that same location. Sephiroth is a part of another word spell here, Thoth being Ra, aka Marduk. Well, that's in the second, the restarting of Egyptian gods. When Thoth, Marduk, and his buddies came in and killed all the original guardian races and then assumed their identities and tricked us. In between each planet, Sephiroth is lines or pathways that are represented by a tarot card, archetype, or astrological sign. Each of these, in reality, to simplify it, is a thought form, modality one can either utilize for good or evil, depending on which tree the individual is. The original tree of life was an esoteric map of sorts to show the way of balance through the myriad of experiences the soul has in each incarnation via the exploration of the archetypes in both the planet's astrological mythologies and archetype qualities of the pathways, connecting them manifest as life situations, lessons, and personality traits. Even planetary aeons, planetary being manifest creation via the use of archetypes. Thus do we as well. These were all meant to be ways to come to know thyself more. Yet another way to know thyself more is to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned as we continue this journey upon the tree of life. Namaste, namaskaram.